Hey everybody, what's going on? It is James here with Crypto Common Sense, and I have your Bitcoin/cryptocurrency update for January the 25th. Before I jump into the content, please do me a huge favor. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and of course, don't forget to click that bell icon to get notifications when I release new updates. So the weekly chart, obviously, it closes tomorrow, so we've got about 28 hours, a little less than 28 hours before this week closes. So let's take a look at that. Same story, nothing has really changed. Obviously, we are inside of the bear market RSI. We're still looking just like 2018 here. This red bar is not as big, okay? So there is some differences starting to appear there. But you know, we've still got another day left, so we don't know how far the thing's going to dump or how far it's going to pump in that time frame. If we look at the 21 moving average, we have lost it again. It's at $8,374. Price is currently sitting at $83.37. In fact, this just acted as resistance not long ago. I had like a little mini pump and it was unable to break above it. So we'll take a look at that on the smaller time frames. That being said, if you guys watch the channel, you know that I tend to think the 19 is a little more important than the 21. And so far, we're still above the 19. In fact, you can see here that it almost had a perfect touch as support. So the weekly, I think the weekly is sending mixed signals. I don't think it's necessarily bearish, but I don't think it's bullish yet either. Okay, I think this could still go either way on the weekly chart. If we draw a trend line, to me it looks like we're above it. Of course, on the log chart we're below it, so it's kind of the same story that we've been seeing. You know, the two different the two different chart formats, they don't agree with each other right now. So I want to wait until they agree with each other to get a little bit more confirmation of what's happening. So that is the weekly chart. This here is the 3-day chart, okay? And let me get rid of some of these lines because they're not pertinent to this video. So obviously what I'm watching right now is the same thing that I always watch with the 3-day chart. It's the RSI. And, you know, we did close yesterday underneath this green line, so that looks like a false breakout. But so far, we haven't made our way back down inside this bear market RSI zone. So again, sending mixed signals right now. I want to wait for a little bit more confirmation before I decide which way this thing is going, okay? If we start playing around, let me move this over here. If we start drawing some trend lines, zoom out, we could end up seeing something like this, right? Maybe something like this, something like this. Maybe this ends up being a giant triangle, okay? I could see that coming down to the bottom of that and then busting out. But I tend to think that what's going to happen if we come back down inside that red box, I think we're probably going to see the same thing that happened back here in 2018. We'll see some consolidation sideways. We probably will not test the bottom of that box again until we're ready to actually capitulate, okay? And you can see here, you know, once it had the false break in 2018, it just moved sideways for, you know, roughly 3 months or so, and then it completely dumped out the bottom. So with that being said, the next time this touches the bottom of this RSI box, I probably will not be looking to long it. I think that's about the time that it'll probably give way and collapse if it even gets there. We don't even know if it's going to get back to the bottom of that box, okay? So that's what I'm watching on the 3-day chart. Of course, we're well below this line of support now, so of course it's flipped to resistance, okay? That's up around 84.69. So to me, this looks like, well, on the 3-day chart, it could be a couple different things, okay? If we're really looking at 3-day chart, we don't know what it is yet. We can't really say it's a downtrend on 3-day chart. It could still be an uptrend, okay? We could still say, hey, look, this is all one big uptrend, and this is just our pullback, right? It pulled back just shy of that 38.2, and an uptrend that's often a really good place to long Bitcoin, okay? I personally like the golden pocket a little bit more, you know, which would be down around, look here, around this area here, 7,400 bucks, okay? I'd like to see that hold, and then I might think about taking some longs, but right now, we don't have any reason to be overly bullish, okay? Because when we look at this, if we take the lines off of it and we put this on a line chart, it's a very cliche, high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, right? It's just a very cliche downtrend. Until we put in a higher low, then we can say, okay, look, this looks like this trend is over and we're now starting a new uptrend, but we haven't done that yet. So that's what I'm saying on the 3-day chart. On the 1-day chart, what do we got going on here? Let's get rid of some lines. Just look at a fresh, clean chart. So on the 1-day chart, of course, our 200 moving average is way up here. And this right here looks very bearish. Talked about this in several videos. That's a very harsh rejection off of that level, okay? It's not like it went up there, hit it, consolidated underneath it, and then finally broke through. It just pinged right off of it like it was the Great Wall of China, okay? So, you know, who knows what we end up with. We had that smaller head and shoulders, right? Ping, 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 right there. This could also end up putting in a bigger head and shoulders. I mean, we could end up seeing something like this, right? Who knows? It's too early to say. That's a lot of speculation. I mean, it's all speculation, but that's a lot of speculation. Okay. So on the daily chart, if we look at RSI and we draw some trend lines, there's this real gradual sloping one that maybe that's what we're going to do is come back down and test it. You know, we got a ways to go before we can really talk about that one. There's a little bit steeper line, looks something like this. Again, we've got a ways to go before we come down that far. And then there's this one here that I don't personally love. I don't like steep lines, but this one has, you know, some credibility. It's got a touch here, and this looks like a break with a bearish retest. Okay, so that does have a little bit of credibility to it. That probably is a valid line, and we probably did break through it. Okay, which to me says that we're going lower. All right. As far as my short positions go, I talked about this in yesterday's video. I closed a good portion of my short, and I was waiting for it to go higher so I could re-enter. I did re-enter. I re-entered right around 8,460 or 8,465, something like that yesterday, and then rode that back down and actually closed most of that out at 80, like 82.85 or 82.90, somewhere in that ballpark. Take a look at the hourly chart. This right here is the trend line that we probably want to keep an eye on. And you can see that so far it has been respected. Came down to support, came down to support, came down to support, right? So if it stays along this, we might see some, you know, gradual grinding upward. If it breaks below it, then I would definitely be looking to, you know, get it into a bigger short position, because it's probably a sign that we're going to head down that next step. Okay. If you look at the 15-minute chart, basically yesterday this was about as easy of a short as you could possibly get. Well, I don't know if I go that far. It was an easy short though. You had it basically consolidating sideways up here, and you had it a couple different levels you could have been watching. That's one. You know, up here is one. Right there is one. Basically a few levels. Once it broke down through those, it came up and then retested it on a bearish retest. And then once this candle closed right here, you have these tweezer tops. That would have been a really easy place to short at 84.18. And of course, you could have got a nice little move there within about, oh, I don't know, a couple of hours, almost 2%. So that was pretty interesting. On this 15-minute chart, though, it actually looks like it's putting in a series of higher lows, while at the same time putting in a pretty flat top. So from a technical analysis standpoint, that's actually, to me, it looks like an ascending triangle with about a $100 breakout target. So they'd be up around 84, 84.50, right? Maybe pump back up there. So that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of stuff I'm kind of watching for, so that I can, you know, reopen the shorts that I closed down just under 8,300. Okay. So that's kind of the story. Not a lot going on with it. It's, you know, it's the same story that we've been kind of keeping up with. And, you know, I tend to think that we're probably inside of this triangle here. This is the hourly chart, right? Where we had the downward sloping line, the upward sloping line. And, you know, whichever way it breaks, if it breaks up, you know, that would be bullish in nature. If it breaks down, that would be bearish in nature. This little trend here, it actually has a target down around $8,061. So I'm watching that as well. I'd like to see it hit that trend target. Okay. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. On the alt side of things, I went ahead and took more profits yesterday on some of my alts. I'm getting a bad feeling that this was all one big false rally. So I sold some more of my EOS at 364 yesterday. And, you know, I like the fact that it is above its 200-day moving average. That's great and all, but it it's not really moving off of it. It just keeps coming back down and retesting it, which does not make me feel good, right? It makes me feel like this is probably going to end badly for a lot of people. That being said, EOS did put in a higher high, okay? This right here, the high was 358. This high was 361. So it is technically, has broke out of its downtrend. So even if this thing retraces, I'm not saying that it's going to make a new low. That's kind of what I'm worried about. But even if it's in an uptrend, I think that we may see it pull all the way back down to this $2.80 to $2.90 area. That's one reason I went ahead and took profits. And then if it looks good, if it can come back down here and looks good, I might look to buy back the coins that I sold. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm seeing on EOS. And I'm not going to go through all the alts today because it just nothing's really changing. It's the same story. But I did want to point that out. Like I'm starting to feel pretty badly about the alts. Okay. A lot of this is looking like one big false rally. Litecoin didn't break above its 200-day moving average. Stellar did not break above its 200-day moving average. Zcash, I'm not sure what's going on with Zcash. There's some kind of problem with Kraken today. It says it's 22 cents. It's not. It's just some weird Kraken issue. So we'll look at Bitfinex. So Zcash broke above its 200-day moving average, but again, it's really just hasn't done anything since then. It's just grinding back down. The one good thing about Zcash is there's no real sell volume happening, so this could just be a little bit of profit taking, but it doesn't look great. When you see these lower highs like this, and we're basically seeing a flat bottom, it's starting to resemble a descending triangle to me. So I don't love that. Look at a coin like Bitcoin Cash. Somebody mentioned this earlier to me. If you look at a daily chart, it's well above its 200-day moving average, but again, it hasn't really done anything since then. Almost looks like an A, B, kind of a C type of correction going on. And if we look at fibs from the bottom here to the top, that 61.8 golden pocket is right down in this area. This is a downward sloping 200-day moving average, so I can see it coming back down and retesting this. And the 200 moving average might curl down into it by then. So around 260 is probably where I would look to hunt for a long setup. Doesn't mean I'd go long automatically, but that's where I'd look to start hunting for a long setup on Bitcoin Cash. It's got this giant candle, so there's probably a liquidity gap there as well. What else we got? Let's look at the total market cap. Yeah, it just doesn't look great, right? It just keeps coming down and just slamming into this 200-day moving average over and over and over again. So that's what I'm saying. It's making me a little bit nervous for the alts. The alts just may end up being one big fake out, okay? Technically, like I said, they have put in a higher high, okay? That's the daily. We need to look at the weekly. I'm pretty sure they put in a higher high there too. Let's see, 76 billion, 76.39 billion. Yeah, so this was a higher high. So technically speaking, this did break the structure. So it may just be a case of where the alts just went up, too hard, too fast. Which, if so, that's fine. It's not a big deal. It just means that we'll probably get a retracement back down to the golden pocket, right? Which will be down around the 62 billion mark. Okay. And again, that's not a reason to panic or anything. It would be completely normal for it to do that. And if it moves back down to that 60 to 62 billion area, which would be right around here, okay, it could absolutely just come down and then move right off of it. And depending on how the individual alts look, if this happens, I probably would start looking for long setups on a lot of altcoins, okay, regardless of what Bitcoin is doing. I'd probably take at least some small positions on some alts at that point. So we'll have to wait and see there. So I'm going to jump away from these trading view charts for just a moment. I'm going to talk a little bit about market psychology and the bigger picture stuff. So I posted this chart. Most of you who have watched the channel by now, you've seen this. I posted this back in August. Now I actually started talking about the echo bubble before I posted the chart. A lot of people laughed at me. A lot of people thought I was nuts, right? But I had sold all of my Bitcoin by July, early July. I was completely out of my spot Bitcoin, okay? And I felt like we were probably in an echo bubble, and people thought I was, being silly, I guess. I drew this up in August, and I said, I wouldn't flat out dismiss this. And even now, people are still writing this off. The perma bulls and the people who have this really strong bullish bias, they just refuse to admit that this might be what's happening, that we might be in an echo bubble. Even though I've updated this time and time again over the last couple of months, every time we get a move, I update it. And for example, look at this, right? Here's the update from today. Okay. So we have all this, just like I said, red anxiety, complacency, all that stuff. And I personally think that this pump that we just went through, I think it's denial, guys. Could I be wrong? For sure. For sure. This could have been the bottom, and maybe, we are going up from here. And if so, that's fine. That's wonderful. I think if so, that would lend a lot of credibility to the fact that we will put in a new all-time high pretty soon, either, late this year or next year. That'd be great for me. I would just happily buy Bitcoin and ride it to that new high while trading along the way. However, I still think this is what's happening, right? This right here is basically that bubble chart. It's also got this fractal on it. Okay, this is that July 2018 fractal. And if it plays out like July of 2018, it makes sense, right? It's going to line up with the chart. We'd have our capitulation that I've been waiting for, and this would take us down to around $3,500. Now, if this is indeed an echo bubble, that means that after capitulation, you still have the anger and depression phases, and those are what could take us down below the $3,000 mark. Okay, if you're going strictly off of just statistics, Bitcoin likes to retrace 84% when its bubbles pop. So if you take 84% off its high, it would give us a target down around $2,200. Okay, which would also make sense from a chart perspective if you were just looking at the actual picture itself. This looks a little bit lower than this, which is a little bit lower than this, so on and so forth. Okay, I tend to think if we lose 3,000, that we probably go back down lower than 2,000. I think we probably go back down to 1,000 to 1,300 if we lose this bottom, but. It's just a guess, right? It's not even really a prediction. It's just a guess. We don't really know, and we don't have enough information to say for sure how low this is going to go. But I do think this is likely, and I do think that this bubble's, it's played out exactly like every other bubble's played out, right? People are still in denial. I posted this earlier today, and there's people saying, oh, that can't happen, right? It's not going to happen. It won't happen because of the halving. Listen, I heard all that same bullshit excuse, right, in 2018. I remember people saying, oh, there's no way that we can go that low, there's no way we can retrace 84%. The only reason that happened last time is because of Mt. Gox. This time we've got all this institutional money coming in. You've got the NASDAQ licensing their software. You've got Goldman Sachs buying Poloniex. You've got all these things happening. There's no way we're going to retrace 84%. Well, what we do, we retraced 84%, and a whole lot of people, myself included, lost a whole lot of money, right? Because we were in denial. Well, I'm saying it all over again. In my opinion, this is just an echo bubble, and we are getting ready to see the next leg down, which is going to be capitulation. And again, this is the part where people are like, okay, I'm going to long 5,500. I'm going to long 5,000, right? Well, if we see capitulation, those will not hold, right? They'll get chopped right through like a hot knife through butter, and this is going to go back down, and guess what? Do what I want it to do, right? Which is filling this liquidity gap. I've been talking about this freaking gap ever since May, right? So tired of talking about this gap. I can't wait to see it get filled, and hopefully it does. So just wanted to point that out, and I think we'll wrap up there. I think we'll keep this one a short one. My neck's hurting pretty bad today, and I've got to, basically adjust the brace, the neck collar down to talk, so it loses the support, which is what makes my neck hurt. So I'm going to put the collar back up so that my head is supported, and I will talk to you guys in tomorrow's update video. We'll see what Bitcoin does today. Okay, please remember that I am literally some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, so nothing in this video is financial advice, nothing in this video is trade advice. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional investment advice before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency. If you guys enjoyed the video, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to check the description for links where you can follow me on TradingView, Twitter, where you can join my free Facebook group, and of course where you can join my trading course if you'd like to learn how to trade. This is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you to trade safe.